Two tourists from Japan got lost in the middle of Australia's vast and wild forest. They had been walking for hours with no clear direction. The woman stubbornly kept relying on a map that no longer made any sense, while the man was starting to lose his patience. Eventually, the man decided to split up and find a way out on his own. A decision that seemed simple, but in a place like this, it only made everything even more dangerous. The story then shifts to a group of people planning a big adventure. There's Eric and his wife Jennifer, accompanied by Eric's two friends, Victor and Yolanda.
Tough assignment. So, I read you ladies.
The night before departure, they gather at a bar to relax and discuss the plan. That's where Cash, Eric's old friend, showed up and immediately joined them. The casual conversation became interesting when Cash suggested an exciting idea. Cash invited them to explore a hidden cave deep inside the forest that, according to him, had never been touched by humans. According to Cash, if the cave was as beautiful as he imagined, it could become a profitable new tourist attraction. The offer of such a unique adventure instantly caught their interest. Meanwhile, Jennifer and Yolanda stepped away for a moment to talk privately. Yolanda revealed that she was pregnant. Jennifer was happy to hear the news, but behind her smile, there was hidden sadness. Jennifer herself really wanted a child, but Eric had a different view about it. Jennifer could only keep her feelings to herself.
Sometimes I get the feeling he's keeping his options open. Not something we've ever spoken about.
That night, they stayed at a hotel. Victor, who still didn't know about his wife's pregnancy, suggested that Yolanda cancel the trip for her own safety. However, Yolanda gently refused. To her, this trip was too important for Victor, something he had dreamed about for a long time.
I mean, don't you want to experience something new?
I write most of my stuff from a hotel anyway.
The next morning, they drove toward the remote forest where the cave was located. On the way, Victor asked how Cash had found the place. Cash explained that he discovered it while joining a search team looking for two missing Japanese tourists. Instead of finding the tourists, Cash ended up discovering the mysterious cave. The journey wasn't always smooth. Yolanda spotted a crocodile by the riverside, which immediately made Jennifer panic. Cash calmly showed them the gun he brought, as if trying to reassure everyone that they were safe. Eventually, the car couldn't continue any farther. They got out and continued on foot through the dense forest. The journey was exhausting, but all that fatigue disappeared the moment they arrived in front of the cave. The view there was absolutely incredible. The cave was perfectly hidden, looked completely natural, and truly untouched by human hands. Without wasting any time, they prepared their equipment and started going inside. Eric, who was already experienced, helped Victor understand how to use the gear.
Long way around, mate.
Ready?
One by one, they descended into the cave. The deeper they went, the narrower and more difficult the passage became. They had to bend down, even almost crawl through some sections. At this point, Jennifer and Victor started feeling an uneasy feeling they couldn't explain. But Eric kept assuring them that everything would be worth it once they saw what was inside. Not long after, they found something pretty disturbing inside the cave. A goat skeleton was lying there. They briefly wondered how the animal could have gotten that deep into the cave, but not wanting to ruin the mood, they decided to keep moving. Without them realizing it, the weather outside had changed drastically. The sky darkened, and heavy rain started pouring down. Inside the cave, after walking quite a distance, they finally discovered a hidden lake with crystal clear water. The sight immediately left them amazed. Eric and Cash even stepped into the water to enjoy the moment, as if they had just discovered something truly special. But slowly, Eric began to feel like something was wrong. He noticed water flowing in through cracks in the cave walls. That made him worried. In his opinion, they should leave immediately before things got worse, especially since they had no idea what the weather outside was like. At that moment, Jennifer's bad feeling came back, this time even stronger. She felt like something was moving in the water. At first, Cash thought it was just unnecessary fear and wanted him to stay and enjoy the place a little longer. But suddenly, the loud roaring sound of water echoed throughout the entire cave. In an instant, the situation completely changed. Water started rushing in rapidly, causing panic among them. In the middle of the chaos, Cash's bag got swept away by the current. Even worse, their car keys were inside the bag. From that moment on, everything turned into a race against time. The water kept rising quickly until it completely blocked the entrance they had used earlier. The cave that once looked beautiful had now become a deadly trap. There was no way back. Their only hope was to find another way out before they were completely drowned.
We're gonna be in the water with it.
Under the growing pressure, Jennifer chose not to move. She was still haunted by the feeling that something was in the water and thought waiting might be safer. But Eric thought otherwise. Waiting would only make them die faster because the water kept rising. In the end, even though they were terrified, they all had no choice but to enter the dark, freezing water, hoping to find a way out.
Anyway, without those keys.
While feeling around in the murky water that was cold enough to pierce their bones, Victor accidentally found Cash's bag that had been swept away earlier. A small sense of hope appeared for a moment, but just as his hand was about to reach the bag, the surface of the water suddenly rippled strangely. In an instant, the fear they had been feeling became real.
Victor!
A huge crocodile suddenly shot up from below. Panic instantly broke out. They quickly backed away to higher ground while trying to catch their breath. In the middle of the chaos, they saw a body slowly floating on the surface of the water. At first, they thought it was Victor, but after pulling it closer, it turned out to be someone else's corpse, possibly one of the missing search team members from earlier. The atmosphere became even more terrifying. Not long after, Victor emerged from the water in horrible condition. He managed to escape the crocodile attack, but his stomach was badly torn open. Blood kept pouring out, and his face was starting to turn pale. Even though they treated his wounds as best they could with cloth and painkillers, everyone knew he didn't have much time left. The tension soon turned into emotions that were hard to control. Jennifer and Yolanda started expressing their regret for following Cash's idea, but Eric chose to stay focused. He realized blaming each other wouldn't help them get out of this situation.
We're all gonna be.
Without wasting time, Eric asked Cash to dive back toward the original path to search for a signal using his waterproof phone. But Cash, already terrified, flat out refused. To him, going back into the water was basically asking to die. Eric was now faced with a difficult choice: wait and survive as long as possible, or take a huge risk for a small chance of escape. In the end, Eric decided to act. But just as he was about to dive in, Cash stopped him. With a tense expression, Cash suggested a crazy plan to use the corpse they found as bait to distract the crocodile. The idea sounded extremely risky, but in a situation like this, they didn't have many options, so they went ahead with the plan. Once the crocodile was distracted, Eric and Cash slowly moved through the water toward the entrance path. Meanwhile, Jennifer and Yolanda stayed above. Taking care of Victor as a condition continued to get weaker. At first, everything went smoothly, with no signs of the crocodile returning. But a new problem suddenly appeared. Victor suddenly had an asthma attack. He struggled to breathe, while his inhaler was with Yolanda, who was standing a bit farther away. In panic, Yolanda tried throwing the inhaler to Jennifer, but her throw missed, and the inhaler fell into the water. Without thinking twice, Yolanda immediately jumped into the water to get it, racing against time and whatever threat could appear from below at any moment. Meanwhile, Eric and Cash finally made it back to the entrance path they had used earlier. But the moment they got there, their hope was crushed. The passage that had once been open was now completely blocked by a huge rock caused by the water pressure outside. They tried moving it, but it was useless. There was no way out there. In the end, they were forced to turn back. On the way back, Eric almost lost his life. His leg got stuck in a narrow crack underwater until he was nearly out of breath. Luckily, Eric managed to free himself and reach the surface. But Cash's fate was far worse. Cash got separated from Eric, and within seconds, the crocodile attacked him. Cash's body was dragged into darkness and disappeared without a trace. When Eric returned alone, the atmosphere immediately turned hopeless. One by one, their hopes fell apart. In the middle of all the pressure, Yolanda finally revealed the secret she had been hiding. She was pregnant. Yolanda hoped the news would give Victor the strength to hold on a little longer. But time kept passing, and their situation became even more critical. Just when everything seemed hopeless, Jennifer noticed a faint breeze coming from a crack in the cave wall. After checking it, they realized there was another passage that might lead to an exit. A small spark of hope appeared again. Without wasting time, they immediately came up with a new plan. This time, Yolanda helped Eric search through the passage, while Jennifer stayed behind with Victor, who was getting weaker and weaker. But behind their fight to survive was a far more painful truth. Yolanda and Eric's relationship was more than just friendship. They had secretly been having an affair, because Victor couldn't have children. Yolanda's pregnancy was not Victor's child. Ironically, while Victor was fighting between life and death, he was holding on to the greatest hope of his life. The water kept rising nonstop. Jennifer tried to help Victor move to higher ground, supporting his body while staying alert for danger around them. For a moment, everything felt calm. Too calm. In the middle of such an impossible situation, Victor smiled. In a weak voice, he expressed his happiness. He was going to be a father. Victor believed it was a miracle after everything he had been through.
Never thought we could have kids after all the chemo. Incredible.
And that was where the cruelest irony happened. He felt like his life was finally complete, never knowing that happiness was built on betrayal.
Of course we will.
When Jennifer regained consciousness, she was immediately faced with a bitter reality. Everything was already too late. Victor couldn't be saved. His body lay motionless, leaving an unbearable silence inside the cave. Not long after, Eric and Yolanda returned. Their steps immediately stopped when they saw Jennifer sitting weakly beside Victor's body. Yolanda instantly broke down crying. The grief, regret, and guilt mixed together, making the atmosphere even more suffocating. Things got even worse when Eric admitted that the passage they had explored earlier was also a dead end. There was no way out. The pressure that kept building finally made Jennifer unable to hold back her emotions any longer. All the anger she had been keeping inside exploded. With a trembling voice, she forced Eric and Yolanda to tell the truth. There was nothing left to hide anymore. With a face full of regret, Eric finally admitted to the affair. He apologized, but the words felt empty and couldn't fix anything. The situation became even more chaotic. Eric himself looked completely lost, as if he no longer knew what to do. But in the middle of the chaos, his attention suddenly focused on something in the middle of the lake. A whirlpool was slowly spinning, reflecting a faint light from above. The light seemed to come from a crack that might connect directly to the outside of the cave. With no other options left, they all realized it was their only remaining hope. Without wasting any time, Jennifer immediately made a decision and dived toward the whirlpool first. Yolanda and Eric quickly followed behind her. They swam with all their strength against the powerful current and the exhaustion that had already drained almost all of their energy. For a moment, the hope felt real, as if they could actually escape this terrifying place. But that hope was immediately tested again. From the darkness of the water, the massive shadow appeared once more. The crocodile that had been stalking them attacked again. In that critical moment, Eric made a decision that could never be taken back. With the little courage he had left, he chose to sacrifice himself. Eric intentionally drew the crocodile's attention, pulling the danger away from Jennifer and Yolanda. Maybe it was his final way of making up for all the mistakes he had made. Even though her heart had already been shattered by betrayal, Jennifer still felt deep pain seeing her husband end up like that. But in the middle of that pain, Jennifer knew she couldn't stop. With the little strength they had left, Jennifer and Yolanda kept swimming toward the whirlpool and finally managed to break through it. Both of them made it out of the cave alive. Without wasting any time, they immediately rushed to the car to leave the place as fast as possible. Yolanda tried to apologize and explain everything, but Jennifer didn't want to hear any of it. At that moment, Jennifer only had one goal in mind: getting out of the forest. But their nightmare wasn't truly over yet. While driving out of the forest, a huge tree suddenly fell and blocked the road. Jennifer instinctively swerved the steering wheel, but it caused the car to lose control and slide into the river. Water quickly started flooding the inside of the car. Panic hit them once again. Even worse, the crocodile was still following them. Yolanda quickly grabbed the gun from the dashboard and handed it to Jennifer. As the water kept filling the car, the two of them struggled to get out and swim toward the shore with the little strength they had left. Yolanda was almost at land, but then Jennifer saw something that nearly stopped her heart. The crocodile was right behind Yolanda. Without hesitation, Jennifer immediately raised a gun and fired. Once, twice, but the bullets missed. The situation became even more critical. Suddenly, the water around them turned red. Yolanda screamed hysterically, thinking Jennifer had become the victim. A few seconds later, Jennifer resurfaced. At the very last second, she had managed to shoot the crocodile right as it attacked her. After all the terror they had been through, from inside the cave to the river, they finally survived. With their bodies covered in injuries and their minds shattered, Jennifer and Yolanda hugged each other. No words were spoken. They simply walked slowly away from the river, leaving all the horror behind them.